They wanted to break you before you knew what you were. That was the real plan. The whispers, the setups, the fake support, none of it was random, it was tactical, strategic. The moment your light started to grow, they started building shadows around you. And yet, here you are. Stronger, smarter, unshakable. Chosen one, they were terrified the day you stopped explaining yourself. The day you went quiet, they heard thunder. The silence was your declaration, and it shook their plans to the core. They thought you'd beg. Instead, you built. They thought you'd run. Instead, you rose. You've become the very nightmare they tried to stop. Every attack they launched was supposed to slow you down, but look at the irony. Their own evil became their downfall. You see, when you're chosen, you don't just survive the fire, you become the flame. That's what's haunting them now. The power they tried to contain has grown past their reach. You didn't fold, you evolved. And now, you walk with a presence that exposes every lie they ever told about you. If you feel that power rising in you, if you know this message speaks directly to your spirit, pause and hit like, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this story, it's not just yours. It's a warning to every enemy who swore you'd never make it. They played with your name. Now they tremble at your silence. Before moving ahead, let me pause and speak from the heart. To every one of you who has supported this mission through Super Thanks. Your act is more than generosity. It's alignment. It's purpose. It's a signal to the unseen that you're not just listening, you're standing tall in the battle, side by side with the chosen. You didn't stumble across this message by accident. You were drawn here by something higher, something that recognizes what's been placed inside of you. Your support keeps this truth alive. It allows this light to cut through the noise and reach those who have been surrounded by silence, manipulation, and attack. You are not just helping a message, you are fueling a movement, and for that, I'm deeply grateful. Now, if your spirit knows what this is, if you've ever felt the fire in you rising when everything tried to put it out, then take a quiet moment to affirm that you're in alignment with this calling. Comment 999 below, not out of pressure, but as a whispered confirmation that you see the enemy's games. You know who you are, and you are no longer playing small. This isn't just content. This is a spiritual uprising, and you're right in the center of it. Number 1. Stop doubting why you were chosen. The throne was assigned, not applied for. Chosen one, stop questioning what has already been decided in realms far greater than this one. This throne you stand before, it didn't arrive because of popularity, politics, or applause. You didn't campaign for it, you didn't charm your way into it, and you didn't need anyone's permission to sit there. It was assigned. Long before the whispers, long before the betrayal, long before they told you that you were too quiet, too different, too much. That throne, it was spoken into your spirit before you even knew how to spell the word leadership. You've spent too long wondering why you, why the attacks, why the isolation, why the jealousy that followed you before you even had success to your name. Let me tell you something that will silence the noise. The assignment wasn't made on qualifications, it was made on essence. There's something in you that can't be bought, copied, or controlled. And that's exactly what terrifies them. The throne was not for the loudest voice in the room. It was for the one who could carry it with wisdom, with restraint, with spiritual precision. That's why it took so long. That's why it came with pain. The path to the throne was not a competition, it was a crucible. You weren't picked out of a crowd, you were planted deeply. And what was hidden in darkness is now rising in light. They tried to break you before you could bloom. They thought if they made you doubt yourself, you'd forfeit your own destiny. But you didn't. You stood. Even in confusion, you stayed aligned. This throne wasn't a reward. It's a responsibility. And the ones who mocked you, they never stood a chance at taking it, because it was never theirs to touch. The throne knows who it belongs to, and now, so do you. Let this truth settle. You didn't apply for this, you were appointed. Your steps were never random, your name was already written. And now it's time to take your seat. Not in arrogance, but in clarity. You've been chosen. And that means everything that tried to stop you just became your evidence. Number 2, don't chase approval. God always uses the one they ignored. Chosen one, stop looking for validation from people who were never meant to see your value. They couldn't recognize your worth because your light wasn't designed for their level of vision. You were always the one sitting quietly in the corner while others performed for applause. And still, you outgrew them in silence. They ignored you because your power made them uncomfortable. They looked past you, not because you lacked anything, but because you carried something they couldn't control. You weren't flashy, you weren't loud, you weren't desperate to fit in, and that alone made you a threat. But here's the twist. They didn't reject you by accident. That rejection was alignment. The doors that didn't open were protection. The approval you never got, it was the sign that you were being set apart, not sidelined, elevated. You don't need applause to activate your purpose. You don't need a crowd to confirm what was always coded into your destiny. Chosen ones are often ignored until their presence becomes too undeniable to dismiss. You've seen it before, how they laughed, how they underestimated, how they called you too soft, too weird, too different. But now, they're watching, silently, obsessed with your glow, intimidated by your elevation. Stop shrinking yourself to earn a seat at tables that were never designed for you. You weren't meant to impress, you were meant to lead. The very people who once saw you as nothing special are now scrambling to figure out how you became unstoppable. And here's the truth, they still won't give you credit, but it doesn't matter anymore. You didn't rise because of them, you rose in spite of them. So stop chasing approval. Stop waiting for them to say, well done. The ones who ignored you are about to witness what happens when the underestimated one awakens. You're not asking to be seen anymore. You're commanding the space you were always meant to rule. Number 3, stop complaining about the wait. The wilderness was your warrior training. You keep asking why it's taking so long, why the doors aren't opening, why the recognition isn't coming, why the breakthrough feels delayed. But what you don't realize is that you weren't being denied, you were being developed. Chosen one, the wilderness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every silent night, every unanswered prayer, every moment you felt overlooked, that was your training ground. Not a delay, a design. While others were getting applause, you were getting armored. While they were chasing popularity, you were being positioned for purpose. The wilderness strips away the noise. It takes away the crowd, the comfort, the applause, and leaves you face to face with yourself, your doubts, your fears, and your hidden strength. That's where real leaders are born, not in comfort, but in chaos. Not in spotlight, but in silence. They laughed while you waited. They said you must have been forgotten. But the truth is, while they were getting ahead, you were getting deeper. You were learning how to move in silence, how to read the room, how to hear without reacting, how to lose without quitting, and how to be powerful without needing attention. It's why your comeback will hit differently. Because it won't come with noise, it'll come with weight. You've been in the trenches too long to play small now. They see the results, but they don't understand the refinement. You were being carved in the dark, shaped under pressure, tested with fire. You're not just showing up, you're arriving with precision, timing, and purpose. The wilderness was the classroom. Your scars were the syllabus, and survival, that was the final exam. So stop complaining about the weight. The pause wasn't a punishment. It was proof that what you're being called to carry is heavier than most can handle. Number 4. Quit thinking it was just suffering. That fire was God forging a leader. Chosen one, stop calling it pain like it didn't have a purpose. Stop labeling it suffering like it didn't carry secret strength. You weren't just breaking, you were being built. That fire you walked through, it wasn't punishment, it was purification. Every sleepless night, every betrayal, every silent breakdown, none of it was wasted. You were being shaped, and while others pitied you, the universe was preparing you. They saw you lose everything. They never expected you to come back with more. They counted your tears, but couldn't count the resilience that rose in their place. They whispered, "Look at them, falling apart," but they never saw what was forming behind your silence. Steel, vision, fire. You didn't collapse, you evolved. You were never just surviving, you were becoming. Becoming the kind of leader this world isn't ready for, the kind they can't predict, control, or contain. And that's why they feared you before you even knew who you were, because somewhere deep in their spirit, they sensed it. This one is different. The suffering? It wasn't the end, it was the forge. You didn't get burned, you became the flame. They tried to bury you under ashes, hoping no one would ever find the brilliance beneath. But chosen ones never stay hidden for long. Because when a person has been through hell and came out glowing, you don't question them, you follow them. So, no, that wasn't just suffering, it was your making. That pain wasn't the enemy, it was the evidence. The evidence that you're chosen, the evidence that you're rising. And the evidence that when life tried to crush you, it only unlocked what couldn't be destroyed. And now here you are, wiser, colder, more focused. You've walked through fire that would have ended them, but you turned into something they can't even define. You are the result of the fire, the leader they never saw coming. Number 5. Stop taking rejection personally. It was God's way of clearing the wrong voices. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. Let that truth sink in. Not every voice deserves access to your heart. Not every presence deserves a seat at your table. Rejection, as painful as it feels, is not always a loss. It's often protection in disguise. Chosen one, they didn't reject you because you were unworthy. They rejected you because your presence made their illusions crack. Your light was too honest for their comfort, your energy too pure for their games. So instead of adjusting themselves to your standard, they tried to lower you to theirs. And when you didn't bend, they backed away. They labeled you too much, too intense, too deep. But in truth, you were simply too real for the roles they wanted you to play. When you stopped apologizing for your power, you stopped fitting into their small world. And so they pushed you away, not because of weakness, but because of strength. Your rejection wasn't the end of something. It was the cleansing of your atmosphere. It was the removal of noise that was never meant to guide you. Think of how many times the wrong voice almost convinced you to settle, to doubt yourself, to shrink. The rejection you faced didn't break you. It freed you. It cut the cord between you and every opinion that would have diluted your purpose. You don't need everyone to agree with your path. You only need silence long enough to hear your own truth rise. So stop mourning what walked away. Stop replaying the conversations that ended. Stop wondering if you could have fixed it. You were never supposed to be surrounded by confusion. Rejection was simply the universe stepping in to make sure your elevation wasn't delayed by low frequencies. You were never being left behind. You were being lifted out of the wrong circle. Those who couldn't see your worth, that was their limit, not yours. Let them go and rise higher without the weight of voices that were never equipped to walk with you. Number 6.
Don't rush visibility. You were hidden to be released, not to be forgotten. They didn't forget you, they just couldn't access you. And that's the difference. Chosen one, your hiding was never neglect. It was protection. It was preparation. You were being wrapped in layers of silence while the world assumed you were being left behind. But what they couldn't see is that something sacred was happening behind the curtain. You were being formed in the quiet, strengthened in the shadows. Every moment you spent unseen was heaven's way of preserving the purity of your purpose. You see, not everyone is meant to witness your rise, because the truth is, some of them only applauded when you played small. Some only loved you when you stayed dim. But chosen ones aren't made for dimness. You carry something too loud for silence to contain forever. Your time in obscurity wasn't punishment, it was sacred development. Like David in the field, like Joseph in the prison, like Esther behind palace walls. The world had no clue who was about to be unveiled. So stop confusing delay with denial. What's coming for you requires more than attention. It requires divine timing. Because when you rise, it won't just be for applause, it'll be for impact. You weren't hidden to be forgotten. You were hidden because the mission on your life was too important to be tampered with too soon. The world will always chase the loud, the flashy, the already seen. But heaven moves differently. It hides its weapons. It conceals its kings and queens until the moment the enemy has no defense left. That's who you are. You are the answer that's been preserved for the moment when no one else could fix it. Oh, so don't panic when it feels like nobody sees you. That silence isn't absence, it's buildup. It's the rumble before the reveal. And when you finally walk out of hiding, you won't need to announce yourself. The weight of your preparation will do it for you. You're not late, you're loaded. Number 7, stop asking why me. The attack was proof you're built for something greater. Chosen one, it's time you stop asking the question that has tormented you in silence. Why me? Why did you have to face the betrayal? Why did they isolate you, lie on you, turn on you like that? Why were you the one carrying a weight that others never seemed to feel? But the real question isn't why me, it's who else but you. You've been asking as if you were being punished, but the truth is you were being prepared. See, people don't throw stones at things that don't shine. No one attacks an empty throne. The reason the enemy targeted you so heavily is because they saw something you didn't even know you carried. Every attack on your name was because your name was already being whispered in rooms you hadn't walked into yet. The pressure, the opposition, the sleepless nights, none of it was random. It was confirmation. Confirmation that the crown wasn't coming. It was already hovering over your life, waiting for you to recognize it. They didn't try to stop you because you were weak. They tried to stop you because you were close, closer than they could stand, closer than you realized. So next time the question rises in your chest, why me? Remember this, because you were chosen, not for an easy path, but for a powerful one, not to blend in, but to carry a crown that changes everything. They came for you early because they knew if you ever stood in your full power, nothing would stop you. That crown was never up for debate, it was already yours. The enemy's greatest fear wasn't your fall, it was your awakening. Number 8, don't confuse leadership with spotlight. This calling is a battle, not a brand. Don't be fooled by the glitter of the spotlight. This isn't about seeking applause or chasing after the shallow trappings of fame. This is about embracing a battle that demands grit, sacrifice, and unwavering resolve. You may see others parading on stage, basking in temporary admiration, but understand this: true leadership isn't a badge to be worn for show. It's a relentless journey fought in the trenches. Every step you take on this path is filled with hard choices and silent moments of determination, where the real test lies not in how loudly you shine, but in how deeply you hold your ground. Think of yourself as a warrior chosen to lead, not because you crave the flashy limelight, but because you've been molded by challenges too intense for the average soul. When doubts arise and the weight of expectations bears down, remember that your calling is forged in fire. It's in the quiet struggles and unseen battles where the strength of your leadership is built. You're not here to fill a role for the sake of appearances. You're here to make a lasting impact, carving out a legacy from the resolute choices you make in moments when no one is watching. In this fight, every setback is a setup for a greater victory, every harsh word a reminder to stand even firmer. The spotlight may lure you into thinking that leadership is all about public acclaim, but let the truth resonate within you. The true honor lies in the perseverance that comes from staying true to your purpose amid adversity. When the critics shout and the world seems intent on dragging you down, recall that your duty is to fight the unseen battles, to rise stronger from the shadows, and to hold fast to the vision that set you apart. Do not settle for being a mere name or brand that dazzles for a moment. Instead, let your actions in the daily grind, your courage in the face of relentless opposition, and your commitment to a higher calling speak for themselves. Embrace the scars, the late nights, and the solitude of the fight. They are the marks of someone destined not to be remembered for the flash of the light, but for the lasting influence they forge out of every hard-won victory. Stand tall, keep your focus, and let your legacy be built on the unwavering truth of your battle-tested leadership. Number 9, stop wasting energy on betrayal. Every enemy was a stepping stone in disguise. Stop wasting your strength replaying the betrayal. You were never meant to carry that weight. Every back turned on you, every snake you fed, every plan plotted in the dark, it all had a divine purpose. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it made you question your worth. But hear this clearly. What they meant to use against you became the very thing that elevated you. Chosen one, they didn't break you. They built the path beneath your feet. That betrayal, it was never your downfall. It was your redirection. What looked like a loss was really a launch. Every enemy, every whisper, every closed door became a stepping stone. And now, you're walking over what once tried to bury you. You were never meant to stay in that pit. They thought discarding you would silence you, but it just gave you space to grow where they couldn't see. You didn't lose your power. You were simply being repositioned for something bigger than revenge. You're not here to prove them wrong. You're here to prove the purpose was always real. And here's the part they didn't count on. Every move they made against you became fuel. You got smarter, you got quieter, you started listening to your spirit instead of their noise. And in the silence, something woke up in you that can't be undone. They became obsessed with watching your steps, while you became focused on destiny. You don't need to clap back. You don't need closure from chaos. You're already beyond it. What they threw was meant to break bones, but it sharpened your vision. And now you move with precision. They weren't your downfall. They were the confirmation of your calling. So let them talk. Let them watch. Let them wonder how you're still rising. Because the truth is, they were never your enemy. They were your staircase. You were never betrayed. You were built. Chosen one, stop wasting energy mourning the fake ones. You weren't meant to fit their comfort zone. You were meant to outgrow it. Keep walking. Your rise was written long before their betrayal. Let them be confused by your peace. Let them be haunted by your silence. You're already gone. And already great. Number 10, don't mistake delay for denial. Your appointed time has divine backing. Chosen one, listen carefully. Delay is the most misunderstood form of protection. When the world doesn't see your crown, when the doors stay shut, when silence answers your prayers, it's easy to think you've been overlooked. That maybe you're not ready, that maybe it wasn't meant for you, but that's the trap. That's the illusion they want you to fall into. Delay isn't denial, it's divine strategy. If you had been lifted too soon, your crown would have slipped. Not because you're not chosen, but because the battlefield requires a level of wisdom and strength that only time and fire can build. You see, your timeline isn't late, it's tailored, customized. And while others have sprinted into spotlights they couldn't handle, you've been in the shadows, being fortified, sharpened, refined. They laughed because you weren't moving fast, but they forgot when someone is being prepared for something that's meant to last, the process is deeper, not louder. And now that your moment is drawing near, they'll realize what looked like stagnation was sacred timing. What they mocked as delay was divine discipline. Some of the most powerful assignments come wrapped in silence, and your silence has been loud in the spiritual realm. You didn't fold. You waited, you didn't chase, you trusted. And that posture, that alignment, that's what's unlocking the timing no one can block. Don't confuse a paused season with a canceled promise. What's meant for you doesn't arrive when you beg for it. It arrives when you're built for it. And you, chosen one, have been built in secret to carry weight they couldn't even lift in public. So when the enemy whispers, "It's taking too long," remind yourself, preparation takes time. And when your time comes, it won't be something you step into quietly. It'll be a divine eruption, the kind that rewrites history and reminds every doubter exactly who is being made in the delay. Your appointed time has never been in question. It's been waiting for the version of you that could carry the crown without breaking. Number 11, stop thinking you're not strong enough. That weight is a signal, not a setback. Chosen one, it's time to stop misreading the signs. That heaviness you feel, it's not a punishment, it's proof. It's the weight of the crown you were always meant to carry. You've mistaken it for weakness, for fatigue, for the universe saying, maybe this isn't for you. But that pressure isn't meant to crush you, it's trying to awaken you. You feel that weight because you're being positioned to hold more than the average soul ever could. The reason it feels overwhelming is because you're not walking a common path. You're carrying burdens most people couldn't survive for a single day. That resistance you're feeling, that's your spiritual muscles growing. That's your discernment sharpening. That's your assignment expanding. You are being stretched, not broken, enlarged, not erased. When others fold under criticism, you endure. When they lose themselves in confusion, you dig deeper and discover clarity. That is not a weakness. That is resilience wrapped in divine fire. Have you noticed how your peace unsettles those who live in chaos? How your silence disrupts entire rooms? That's the strength they want you to doubt. Because once you fully believe in it, nothing they throw at you will even touch you. That's why the enemy attacks so heavily, not because you're fragile, but because you're dangerous to their lies. You weren't chosen because you had all the answers. You were chosen because you had the capacity to carry what others would collapse under. So stop asking why the load is so heavy and start realizing it's because the position is so high. They don't crown the casual, they don't anoint the convenience, they crown the ones who were willing to bleed, to rise, and to keep going, even when it made no sense. So the next time the weight feels unbearable, don't pray it away, own it. That weight is the throne shifting underneath your feet. It's the spiritual signal that you're moving into territory they said you'd never survive. You're not failing, you're forming, and soon the world will see what was really growing inside, the pressure they thought would break you. Number 12, don't crave the throne, you were sent to steward it, not show it off. Chosen one, the throne was never a prize, it was a position. a burden, a battlefield in disguise. And the truth is, those who crave it rarely survive it. You weren't chosen because you begged for the spotlight. You weren't selected because you screamed for attention. You were chosen because you could carry the weight quietly. There is a dangerous trap in the craving for status, recognition, or control. That's not leadership. That's ego. And ego has no place in the seat of divine responsibility. The real throne doesn't come with applause. It comes with pressure. It comes with silence. It comes with enemies you never saw coming and decisions that carry consequences far beyond yourself. You were sent not to rule over people, but to rise with them, to lead not from pride, but from purpose. That's why you've been through so much, why the path was heavy. You weren't being punished, you were being refined. Because to steward this calling, you needed to be trustworthy. You needed to be tested in the dark, away from praise, so that when elevation came, your heart wouldn't swell. It would stay surrendered. Look at those who chased the throne for glory. Where are they now? Most fell, not because they weren't gifted, but because they were never grounded. They turned the crown into a mirror instead of a mantle. But you were trained to carry it like a torch. Quietly, boldly, with vision. So stop looking for the throne to validate you. It was already yours before anyone recognized it. It doesn't need to shine, it needs to serve. And the moment you treat it like a stage, you've already started to lose it. You were sent to shift atmospheres, not soak in attention. This is why the weight feels real, because what you're carrying isn't just your own destiny. It's the future of those watching, learning, and depending on you to move with humility. You don't need to show it off, you only need to show up. Because when you carry a throne you never asked for, but still protect it with honor, that is when the heavens move through you. And the world can't deny it. As we come to the end of this message, remember this: true power doesn't parade itself. It proves itself in quiet strength and sacred action. You weren't chosen to impress the world, you were chosen to impact it. The throne wasn't given to you for attention, but for assignment. Walk in it with reverence, not showmanship. If this word stirred something deep within you, if you know you were sent to carry, not to perform, then take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop 999 in the comments as your silent agreement with this higher calling.